Good morning. It's Friday. It's what, the 28th of March. So let's do a screen share and see where we're at. I did look through your rough drafts and your outlines, and I'll address some of the things I noticed there in just a second. Let's take a look at the module, see where we're at. So this weekend we'll have the questions for part 3. So by now you should have finished the novel. It's a pretty quick read. I think it's pretty easy to understand the superficial, the literal storyline. Then as you dig deeper and understand the context of the politics and the rhetoric and the symbolism, and especially if you've read other things by George Orwell, you have a sense of where how he sees himself in the context of when and where he was located. So then we have the writer's reference. It's the chapter 11, basic grammar. And basic grammar is something that you can certainly read on the page. I think that for most, if you read it aloud, you can hear the syntax, you can hear the grammar, you can hear the mechanics, and you can also start to notice, besides spelling errors, punctuation errors, as well as some subject-verb agreements that aren't really aligning. So the verb, the action must match the subject. So the dog ran, that's a very simple subject verb agreement. The dog ran after the cat. It's a little more complex. Uh, uh, Dog is the subject, ran is the verb, and then you have the object, which is the cat running after the cat. So if you read it aloud, you can hear this. And you can hear when the verb tense is incorrect, whether it's past tense, present tense, future tense, as well as when it doesn't match the subject itself. So the chapter 11 in writer's reference is sort of addressing the sort of basic grammar things. Have the notes and the revised outline due this weekend. And I'll go over the outline as well as the rough draft and the thesis statement, and then have some additional links here for lectures and for instructions on essay 5 and 6. I included some information about Pablo Strata and this critical consciousness here. I also included a link for literary devices and terms. Since 1984 is a piece of fiction. It's called literature. It's going to use, all literature uses these literary devices and terms, and there's many. For this course, I'm just asking you to look at symbols, one in each chapter, and write sort of a log of where that symbol is located, who references or speaks about it, what page is it on, how does it connect to the overall theme, and your analysis of what that symbol is doing, and why it's there. I also add another folder here on what's literature and the definition of literature and the types of literature to give sort of an overall view of what that is. Chapter 12 seems set up, so I'll add chapter 13 and 14. You can sort of see by now that after essay 5, you'll be working on essay 6, and that'll be sort of the end of the semester. So let's take a look at things I referenced before, which is the thesis statement, as well as the outline, as well as the rough draft. So I'll make a page of this information, and then we can go over that. Let me open up. Okay. Outline, and I thought I'd just do it again just to make sure that we're clear on. Okay. I think that's enough for right now. I'll also include a blank outline, and I'll include a sample outline and essay. So let's see if I can separate these so that they're distinct. I'll save and publish this. I'll put it into this week's modules. Okay, and there it is. Let's open up, take a look at these files. One is an outline for essay 5. You can sort of see it on the screen here. And this kind of also addresses the thesis statement. So I think a thesis statement works better when it starts with a subordinate although. It's kind of a trigger word. So although you've studied hard for this exam, although we've been friends for a long time, although you worked for this company for 10 years, although it's a good signal subordinate that tells us that something else is going to happen, something else is going to follow that is not exactly as expected. So we tend to pay more attention to what's going to follow the word although. So I think it's an excellent subordinate. It signals to the reader that the following words are going to speak to something very important. So the first part of the thesis statement is a problem, whatever you think is a problem with either this literature or this society or this type of government or this whatever is it you see in the novel or in the essays you're writing about, or a poem. So whatever that problem is, the problem could be not just what that text is, that story, that poem, that play, that song, but it could also be how it's being analyzed by its peers and by society. So, for example, 10 years ago, a phrase like diversity, equity, and inclusion was viewed in a different way, and the problem connected to diversity, equity, and inclusion was different than it is today in 2025. So context, the 5 W's, and the how really does matter a great deal. So the problem for a thesis statement is in the context of how you are perceiving, how you're analyzing it. The second part is reaction by credible sources. And a credible source for literature would probably be someone who is either skilled in or a scholar of, or has written many books, or somehow has some credibility with writing or the study of writing. So that's a credible source. It could also be, if you're dealing with politics and the rhetoric of politics, it could be someone who is skilled in politics and has not only experience but also has respect in the field of politics. If you're looking at politics as your thesis statement problem. And the third part is your opinion on how best to deal with this problem, how best to solve this problem, how best to manage it. Some problems cannot be eradicated. Some problems need to be managed, like weather. So the weather's changing. So how do we deal with that changing weather? So, right, you build a house that's higher up on stilts, further away from the water line? Do you reinforce the home with steel beams? I worked in an office, for example. I worked in an office in Hollywood, and I was on the 8th floor, and the building was built on 1915, 1920, and it was adobe stucco, sort of Spanish style. And at the time, it was, a pretty decent building and a pretty decent elevator. So after the earthquakes in Los Angeles, not only the one in the 70s, but also later on, the city of Hollywood, as well as the state, said all the buildings need to be retrofitted to meet the new standards. So our building had to have steel beams inserted through the floors and through the walls, and the elevator itself had to be brought up to code. So they managed the problem, which is this old building, by retrofitting it with steel beams to make it earthquake proof. So that's one way of solving the problem or managing the problem. So your thesis statement is going to have a problem. It's going to have reaction by credible sources, and it's going to have your opinion on how best to handle, manage, deal with this problem. So this outline here is a pretty good example of what I'm looking for on the page, but also as far as the thesis statement. So remember that your outline is sort of a skeleton of what you're writing about. So you should have all your key points in here. Try to be as specific as possible. When you're vague or general in your outline, what your essay is going to do is also be vague and general. So have a very specific quote, a specific name, a specific argument, not just that they disagree with what you're saying. That doesn't really tell me anything about what it is, right? So be very specific in your outline. But that said, you're not writing full sentences necessarily. You're writing sort of a truncated, succinct, terse caption of the words, the key points in that sentence or that topic. So that's the outline. Let's go back and close this one down. Let's take a look at the next. This one here is in preparation for the timed writing assignment at the end of the semester, but it has in its margins, I think, some really useful tips for you as you write your outline, as well as for when you write your essay. So be sure to reference these word banks and this information in the margin. That'll help you, I think, a great deal. And just like you see on the screen here, I added word banks of specific words related to, and this one related to events or sequence of time. This one was citing an example. And these are just some of the many words you could use in doing these functions, right? When you're summarizing. And at the end of the essay, what the last paragraph should be doing is summarizing what the argument was, what your thesis was, what you wanted to accomplish in your essay. So summarizing the key points of what your essay was about, as well as predicting what's going to happen next. So your essay is not the end of the discussion on this topic. Your essay is one point in time in reference to this problem. So your last paragraph in your essay should not only summarize your argument, but also indicate or predict or suggest where this discussion should go, right? For example, 20 years ago, AI wasn't really, didn't really exist the way it does now. So if we're writing an essay about AI, for example, what do you think technology is going to be like in 10 years or 20 years? So how should we manage AI? And I bring that up only because there's many people within the government, within the tech industry, discussing AI and the future of AI. So your last paragraph in your essay is not only summarizing your argument, but also predicting where this discussion is going to go. There's also some key things to think about as you're writing your thesis statement. Does your thesis statement answer a question, propose a solution to a problem, or take a position in a debate? Does the thesis require an essay's worth of development? We're going to run up points too quickly, right? So if your essay is too general, then you can't possibly cover it within a 1,500-word essay. Is your thesis statement is too narrow, then maybe you won't have enough to talk about. So you got to sort of evaluate your argument, and can you have 6, 7 paragraphs to go over the 6 sub-points or subtopics of your main argument? And also, do you have enough evidence available? If you're discussing water on Mars, for example, there is research that indicates that there was water on Mars. But if you're going to argue about water on Neptune, it's a little more of a stretch because there's not as much research because we haven't visited Neptune. We've only seen images of it, and we can only guess or estimate. Anyway, so that's that one. Let's close this one down. Here's a blank outline, I think. Okay. So again, this one here talks about supporting details, examples, and analysis. You have a topic sentence. Every paragraph is going to have a topic sentence, and you're also going to have a concluding sentence that transitions to the next paragraph. So in your outline, you should have that as well. How are you going to start that paragraph, what's the topic sentence, as well as what the concluding transition sentence is that connect it to the next topic. That's why when you do a revised outline, you can see the structure of your argument as it's being developed, paragraph by paragraph. And then we have another file here. This looks pretty much like the other one. Okay, well, this is a sample essay written by a student a few years ago. And you can see what they did. Now they tried to include images, and I'm encouraging you to do the same thing, but make sure it's being properly cited. You'll notice that they have here PG period 184, and that's incorrect. You'll notice that they have on being a cripple, and it's not italicized. Books are italicized, essays are quoted. So that's incorrect. You'll notice here that the punctuation is incorrect. The period is always at the end of the sentence. But they include images, which is kind of cool. So you're certainly more than welcome to do that. Maybe the image, the picture, the graph, the chart is going to demonstrate your argument in a way that would require many words to do so. All right, so that's on the outline. So I talked about thesis statement, I talked about the outline, I talked about the assignments. I think that's it for right now. Let's take a look at the modules again one more time. I'll put in week 13 and 14, maybe all the way through the end of the semester, but that's sort of where we're going. The next essay 6 is much more focused than essay 5. And then the last assignment of the semester would be the in-class timed writing assignment. I'll open up the tab probably on a Monday and have you complete a so-called time. So time yourself, be honest about it, and respond to the prompt. And it'll probably take you about 2 hours to do that and then submit that. So that'll be the last assignment. Okay. And do I have a weekly check-in here? I don't have the check-in. Okay, so I'll have to add the check-in for this week, 11. It's not here. So I will include a weekly check-in for you to respond to the videos, to the assignments, and to the writing tasks so far. Anyway, that's it for right now. Thanks so much. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I'll respond within a few hours, if not by the next day. And I thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.